Oh, I like to say.
Is the bottom of the rabbit hole. People begin to question reality through various conspiracy theories, various rabbit holes. It's through these questioning of reality, the search
for a deeper truth, the search to know what reality is in and of itself,
that I think leads people eventually to Christ.
What's going on, my dear friends? My name is Mano. As always, it hasn't changed. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, and that's a truth. That is a truth. Let's see now. Okay, so let's start off with a little bit of a truth based off of what we just saw. So we saw Joe Strummer. For those of you guys just tuning in, I played a clip of Joe Strummer, one of my favorite clips of his old show called London Calling. He had an amazing radio show. I was highly inspired by it. It is one of the reasons I started SOS Radio. Actually, the first iteration was called Bleed 'Em Out Radio, and that was a long time ago. And for those of you guys that are subscribers to our Patreon, you can go and check out the one and only episode of Bleed 'Em Out Radio. So here's the truth about Joe. Well, Joe Strummer and the entire punk movement, as I've discussed before, was a psyop. But not particularly Joe Strummer, like he was knowingly doing so. So there's a truth. But there's what's also true is towards the end. Let me just let me just use Joe Strummer as a good introduction to truth. So someone might say, someone that watched that introduction that's well versed in the psyops and all that stuff and social engineering, culture creation, they'll be like, well, Mano, Joe Strummer, The Clash, Bernie Rhodes, Sex Pistols, Malcolm McLaren. I've talked about this 100 times on the show. Someone might bring that up and I'll be like, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, totally. Bernie Rhodes was a raving lunatic, red, full communist. A lot of the ideas and concepts of The Clash early on were influenced by socialism of the time, right? We're not talking about today's version of it, right? We're not talking about that, but it doesn't excuse it. That's the fact. That's the truth. Joe Strummer and The Clash, though, one thing I did like about them, they weren't pretend about that ideology, especially Joe. Some other people that were like pretend about these types of ideologies, they want other people to be poor and socialism for all, but not for them, right? So Joe was definitely not like that, and The Clash were not like that. So at least they stuck to their guns on that. I'm not excusing that. I'm just get through this 1 second. Give me a second here. So for example, The Clash were known to not like the amount of money that was charged for the tickets for their shows, because they wouldn't always have control of how much they charged for a show. So they were known to go to the back alley doorways in the concert hall and kick open the doors and let people in for free, for example, that kind of thing. Then later on in his career, Joe took a couple years away from music and he ran to South America and he spent some time there. And when he came back to the world and started making music again, he was the type of artist, and I don't know many that were like this. Maybe there are some exceptions. I can't think of many right now off the top of my head, but he was the type that he would be playing a lot of the festivals in the UK. And after the show was done, his performance was done, he would grab his guitar, go out from the back area, like the backstage area of the festival, and go and hang out with random people. So there are many stories where people are like, it's those British festivals, you know what I'm talking about, and everyone's kind of camped out, and there's a campfire busting, and all of a sudden Joe Strummer comes out of the bushes with a guitar, and he's like, "Hello, everybody. My name's Joe Strummer," and like he would introduce himself like that. Like there's stories of it, and he's like, "Do you mind if I hang out with you guys and play some songs?" You know what I'm saying? That was Joe. So started off with that clip. The message that Joe says in that clip is immense, is important. But it's also important to note, like I said, I'm not disillusioned. I know the starting of the clash, this and that. But towards the end of his life, Joe, just like a JFK type, started to realize the faults of his ways and tried to correct it. You know what I'm saying? And there's a wonderful documentary called "The Future Hasn't Been Written." Jim Jarmusch had a big part of to do with that. And one other thing I really liked about that documentary, my dear friends, is that it didn't paint Joe out to be the best guy in the world. It didn't do that. It was honest. There's even a clip of his wife. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I'm paraphrasing, where she said that he wasn't the best husband, but he was a great father, something like that. There's stories of band members talking about how Joe would like steal their girlfriends. There's a story from his early band, the 101ers, before he went off to start the Clash, how he just totally abandoned the band, and he kind of, so it wasn't like Joe was like painted out to be like this awesome dude. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly his wife had issues with him. And he so the reason why I bring that up is just like our dear friend Cyprian Vin Armani from the Royal Path said in the interview that I did with him, and I'm paraphrasing, so excuse me if I get it wrong. He said, the thing about the truth is you're not going to like it. That's very true. That's true. Not from everybody, but for the majority of people, I will definitely say, from my experience, and mind you, I'm not the best at delivering it sometimes. I hit this point in like if I'm having a conversation with someone where I fully know that they're lying to me, especially if I know that they're lying and they know that I know that they're lying and I caught them. Anyways, I'm not always the best when I hit this certain limit. I'm not the best. So I'm going to say hello to everyone in the chat. If there's anybody in the chat that wants me to replay the Joe Strummer clip, it's really quick. And I followed it up with our dear brother, David Patrick Harry from the Church of the Eternal Logos, his little speech on the truth is a who, not a what. So in the chats, if anybody would like me to replay that, I will do so. Even if there's one or if there's two people in the chats that want me to replay that didn't catch it at the beginning, I will do so because I want to set the premise of this random conversation. I want to base it off those two videos, and my little rant about Joe just happened. Denise, my dear sister, welcome. My dear brother Moldy, welcome. Mela, my dear sister, welcome. Joseph Beard, my dear brother, welcome. If there's anybody else that I'm just skimming through quickly to see if there's anybody else that I missed. Orthodox Boomer Grandma, welcome to the conversation. Hopefully this becomes a fruitful one. So in the chats, give me a 1 if you want me to replay those videos. If you don't care, just don't say anything. And I'm just going to jabber away. And if I see, hey, Dave Sims, my dear brother, Dave Sims is in the house. All right. So So basically today, I just wanted to talk about something I've mentioned in a previous, I can't remember if it was on SOS Radio or if it was last Sunday, last Saturday, a week ago today, when I was talking about truth being the currency of the future, the value-backed currency of the future. That's been something I've been thinking about for over a year. So, like I said, I mentioned it a bit and I touched upon it Saturday or Sunday. Can't remember which stream it was. And I wanted to go into it a little bit more. I want to hold myself accountable as well. And I want to just kind of express some of my thoughts. I just wanted to kind of get some stuff out. Nothing bad. I just wanted to just I like working out. It's interesting, and I hope this is okay that I say this. But Denise commented on one of my videos. I can't remember which one it was. She watched a whole bunch. She went back. She went back to my back catalog, and I hope it's okay I say this, Denise, but it is public. You could see. But she went back to my old catalog of SOS stuff. She went to my Mano stuff on my Mano page, which, by the way, I want to start building that. It was my music page. I'm going to start building that. So if Manny can throw that in the chats. So if you guys can go subscribe to that channel, because I'm going to start putting out some music just on that channel. Anyways, she went back and she watched a bunch of my videos, and she, I guess, figured out something that I've been doing. And I think I've always done this, and that's just kind of my way of working things. Is like I work through things by just publicly putting them out there, whether it's like a rant on a video, through a song. You guys have watched me do it a bit this year. So she's noted that. That's how I work through my thoughts, my ideas, what I'm right about, what I'm wrong about. And I love to have a conversation with someone face to face or over the phone, and then they have them take it apart. I like working through arguments this way. I always tell myself I'm not the best at like philosophy, like a philosophy student, meaning like there's a lot of people that can, tell you, philosophy for this and this. I'm more like to participate in the philosophical, the art of philosophy, but not in a scholastic way. Nothing wrong with that. The way I'm doing it might even not. Anyways, and how I do that is through these conversations, through just like I use these as my notepads. So I'm just doing this live with you guys, working through through my notepad, which would be this. I had the pleasure of today. It's all connected. What I'm saying of interviewing Neil from Dirt Poor Robins. We had an amazing conversation this morning. If you guys don't know who Dirt Poor Robins are, please go follow them. We've played them on SOS. We'll continue to be playing them on SOS. This interview that I did with Neil is remarkable. I really had a lot of wow moments. It was mostly a philosophical conversation about God, art, creation, beauty, society, these kind of storytelling, symbolism. Obviously, you guys know he's very good friends with Jonathan Peugeot, and they break down a lot of stuff in symbolism and all that stuff. Maybe it might be a good idea we should spoon bomb him. Dirt Poor Robins. Anyways, that conversation started to connect a lot of the things I've been thinking about for really the last 3 weeks a lot. This week is a little bit more heightened. These thoughts. I started the beginning of the building of the peak of having this thought was last week when I was talking about truth as a currency, a value-backed currency. Mean what you say what you mean. Apologize when you're wrong. I'm talking about myself. Say I don't know when I don't know, those kinds of things. And having the conversation with Neil today, having a few private conversations I had this week. By the way, we're blessed to have a lot of really cool people in our little community here. Again, I remind you, please use all the network on Instagram Instagram, Telegram, and Discord. Use it as if it's your own platform, please. That's the best way to make use of a network. By the way, Bitcoin is a network. That's a different conversation. We'll be probably having Cyprian come on soon, and we're going to have a talk about that. But the way that our network works, and any network works, it's a system. It's a built system, and if it's not being used, it doesn't work. I love the fact that in the last maybe month, the usage of our network has gone up. Like, we're using it a lot more. Please promote your stuff, throw your ideas around, joke around, articles, music, this and that. Joseph Beard says, I'd like to hear how you made connection with the... Okay. Sure thing, Joe. First of all, Joseph, I think I can't remember which SOS radio it was. I don't know if it was the last one or the one before that. I made a comment there that was geared towards you, and I mentioned you in it about how I've gone back to, practice what I preach, in the sense that, like, sometimes you hear a band or a song and you judge it off the bat and you don't give it any time. It doesn't have time to grow. Also part of what we talked about with Neil today from Dirt Poor Robins, right? We talked about beauty. He's a Tom Waits fan. He's a Captain Beefheart fan, right? And at face value, those are not beautiful sounding. It's not beautiful sounding music to a lot of people. And so I went back, and so to bring it back to Joseph Beard, why I'm mentioning you, I went back and I was like, let me just sit down with Holy Name again, and I did, and it. I was reading a lot of Tommy's lyrics, great lyrics. I love his play with words. I love how he puts things together, and I've been listening to more of that. So I thought I'd say that on air, because I think this is a big part of being honest. This is a big part about being true. This is the big part about, like, owning your stuff is a publicly, or to the person that's done something. Maybe that's not your style to do it publicly, like I am, but go and tell the person, I made a mistake. I've done this a couple times on the show. I can go back and find them, and it doesn't make me a better person. It just means, and we'll talk about that with currency, why, how you add a value to the words that are coming out of your mouth. That's how you add value. I'll come back to that in a second. To answer your question, Joseph Beard, complete and utter gratitude and thankfulness to Tatiana, because Tatiana told Neil about SOS Radio. I had been planning to invite him on the show for a while now. It's been a while since I wanted to get him on the show, but I was procrastinating because I was trying to work out a bunch of other projects. And when he jumped into the chats, because Tatiana invited him to check out SOS Radio, he even said it on the show. He popped in right when I was playing Dirt Poor Robins. And then after that, I just took it as like a nudge. I took it as a nudge. Maybe it wasn't a nudge from God, but I took it as such. I was just like, okay, and I'm going to move on this, and I moved on it. That's also how I got Jamie Hanshaw on. I reached out to Jamie to help out another friend, podcaster, get in touch with Jamie. And in the meantime, when I did that, I was like, well, I got to invite her anyways, which I wanted to do anyway. So I took it as an opportunity to invite her. So that's how Neil got on the show. He checked out SOS. He loved SOS. He listened to a stretch of our Orthodox content stuff. Again, it wasn't planned, just happened that way. He really liked what he heard. And I just reached out to him, thanking him for being in the show. And I said, hey, look, it's about time. Let's get you on the show. So I reached out to him. He said, let's do it. He's a fan. After having checked out the thing of what we're doing here, I told him, I broke down the Board No More stuff after we got off air. Talked to him a little bit about a lot of the projects we're all working on. He loves it. I won't speak for him other than just saying, like, the conversation went well. The conversation went really well. And I'm very optimistic about what we're trying to do here. What we like, when I keep saying we, I really do mean that we. Our team is growing in terms of the people that are like behind the scenes hustling. There's Manny. He's kicking butt. Everything from how we're dealing with crypto infrastructure, let's call it that, building the website, maintaining all the stuff that we're doing here with the stream. David Sims, who's in the chat, I think he's still here. Massive help on this project. I won't say any more than that for now, because I don't know how much to say publicly. I mean, nothing crazy. It's just like massive help on many levels. Germanus, I would not have met David Sims. I probably would not have gone to Texas when I did. I would not have known of the property that we're like all of that we're looking at if it wasn't for Germanus. Germanus, made that move, made that step. And then, a few other people that are out there. I don't want to mention their names just because I don't know if I should just yet, but a lot of great support from a lot of Orthodox brothers and sisters, podcasters, clergy, lay people, and fans of the show. Massive support. I've had some really good private conversations this week. I promise you, this is all going to fit with the truth and value backed currency. If this is the first time you're listening to a Mano rant, trust me, somehow in the end it all kind of comes together. So a lot of great conversations this week. A lot of fantastic people in our community. I can't really stress that enough. Like just for those guys that do know or don't know, a lot of you guys are having conversations privately, supporting each other, making sure you're doing what you need to do. When you fall, you guys are calling each other. They're telling me this. Like I'm hearing this. People are collaborating. People are meeting up in person. People are moving from one place to the other because they met through this network here. What we're doing here, right? This is happening. This is literally happening. Collaborating. If I already mentioned that, I apologize. Collaborating is happening. Prayers are happening. Right? Like at the end of the last one, we big prayers for Elias, Joseph Beard's friend and family. A couple other people, I don't know if they want to be mentioned, but the prayers are going out there. People are doing this. They're thinking about this. They're checking in on each other. You know what I mean? My brothers in Texas, both Germanus and Dave, they know Manny and I are floating in the middle of nowhere here. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. We're only a couple hours away from Mexico City, and if anybody knows their Mexican history, we step upon blood-soaked soil here. I love my Mexican brothers and sisters, absolutely. That is not deniable. And there were many different tribes here, in Mesoamerica. But the one in particular that was one of the most bloodthirstiest, their practices were straight up satanic. The Aztecs, we step on their blood-soaked soil every day, and we're floating in the middle of nowhere with no parish, no church. The only one that we can go to, we can't even get a hold of. Like we don't know if it's going to be open. You know what I mean? Like we don't have that. And we're just floating out here. And when I'm not on my prayer rule, which I'm not lately, I'll be honest with you, I'm just not, right? I'm just not. I was just a couple hours ago, I was talking to a very good friend of mine about this, and it's stupid. What I'm doing is stupid. We're literally floating in the middle of like, just floating out there. You know what I mean? And it's dangerous. What I'm doing is stupid. Because like if I don't have something to ground me and I'm here podcasting to you and I have this stupid microphone and that stupid camera, I could just be talking about crap, going off on my ego, making this about me. Like I could be doing that. I might be doing that. I don't know. And if I'm not grounding myself by properly doing, my prayer rule and eating healthy spiritually. Thank you, brother, who I talked to earlier, who put it that way. Thank you. If you're out there listening, and I know you are, it's like I'm eating McDonald's, which I don't do. I don't remember what McDonald's tastes like. It's been a long time. But anyways, spiritually, I'm eating McDonald's, and I'm out here floating. I'm out here like an idiot, and then I jump on this thing and I take this responsibility, and then I just become what I'm criticizing, what I'm saying, like wearing the band shirt. I've mentioned that 100 times. Why are you doing this? What's your intention? Like, why am I doing this? I've said this 100 times, and I'm saying it again, and I'll probably say it a million times more. And like, am I lying to people? Like, am I lying to myself? Like, I'm sick of watching. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? I know you know what I'm talking about. And I had some really great conversations this week. I have a couple more scheduled. Someone just sent me a WhatsApp. I saw you, brother. I will message you back. And if anyone wants to chat or whatever, always reach out to me. Feel free, please. Any one of you, I don't mind. Not that I have anything to say, but it's cool to stay connected with people, And I had a really great conversation with two people in our audience this week. I had a difficult conversation as well. And that's okay. That's okay. I've had two in the last 2 months, and they kind of went very similar. It was really bizarre. But those are important conversations to have too. They put me in check, not the individual I spoke to, but after I put myself in check, I was like, am I just full of poop? Like just you jump on this camera and you're like, oh, Jesus, the gospel, all this stuff. And then I'm like, what am I doing here? Am I capitalizing? Like, what is going on here? Right? Like I'm asking these questions. So these conversations had, then I'm getting there was a moment, I didn't fully put a lot of energy, thought behind it, but there was a moment where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I shouldn't be doing this. This was not too long ago. I'm talking about, it's popped in my mind even a couple days ago. And I'm like, I'm just going to stop doing this whole thing, right? Seeing people arguing for the wrong reasons. It's not like, oh, let's all just get along. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that. We should have open discourse. We should have open disagreements and talk about it. That is healthy. That is how it should be done. I'm not opposed to that, but just some of the ways some of the conversations are going. That's for the last little while. So I'm not specifying on specific things that people might be thinking I'm talking about that happened very recently, just generally speaking. And all these things on my mind. I'm like, why am I doing this, man? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this podcasting? Like, okay, it's working great. Like, but am I just going to be one of those dudes that just like, okay, and I'm not judging them. There's a lot of Orthodox brothers and sisters out there putting out content who I adore and I love. And I think a lot of them are doing really great work. I've mentioned them on multiple occasions. But yeah, like just gotta ask myself these things, right? And I wouldn't be doing myself justice. I wouldn't be doing my daughter any justice. I wouldn't be doing you any justice. I wouldn't be doing Manny any justice or anybody around me in any which way if I wasn't asking these questions and realize like this technology can use you very easy. And is it? It is. It is using me. It is to some degree. But am I also using it? I don't know. But I also have gotten a lot of messages in the last little while. I mentioned it on one of the streams that there have been a lot of you. I'm seeing some of them in the chats in one way or another who've personally messaged me to tell me that they're sick and tired of certain types of attitudes or ways that messages are put out there. And many of you guys have said that you actually stopped consuming online Orthodox content. Some that were on the journey towards Orthodoxy actually considered derailing and saying like, this isn't it. Like something's not, and then they run into 3 podcasts. And I'm not just saying this. Like, I'm telling you what they've told me. I'm telling you what I'm seeing. And I'm telling you, I agree with this. It's not out of ego or whatever. Royal Path, Counterflow, Buck Johnson, and SOS Radio. Those 3. There's some other ones, but I'm saying those 3. Like, I'm not saying those are the only. I'm just saying that people have sent me messages specifically about those 3, right? And how those kind of gave people I don't know. I need to be careful with my. I don't know how to put it, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, they're not comfortable podcasts sometimes, and like you get punched in the gut, right? And I quote Cyprian yet again. The thing about the truth is sometimes you're not going to like it. And that's most of the time you're not going to like it. Most of the time you're not going to like it. Yes, Denise, there's plenty of podcasts I can mention that should be on that list, but I'm just saying that specifically these are the 3 that were put there because Christina says Orthodox family life, definitely. Christina, big shout outs, of course. There's a bunch of people that fit in that category. Yeah, I don't want to start naming them because I'll forget a few people. And there's a lot of people, but I mentioned those three because those are the ones that were mentioned to me specifically. So I didn't want to fill in the blanks with other ones that I can give my list, and I'm actually putting together a list of podcasts that I personally like and I enjoy and why I enjoy it. Right. Christina just jumped in. Hola, Christina, welcome. You fit into the category that I was talking about earlier about because I was mentioning certain people's messages privately that they were sending me about how they were like disenchanted with online orthodoxy and the way it's being presented and sort of this and that. Not to say that there's a lot of great podcasts out there that you might think I'm referring to, which I'm not. I think they have their place. I think they're doing a great job. Like massive shout outs to David Patrick Harry, Church of the Eternal Logos, Jay Dyer. Big shout outs there, man. Those things are necessary. That's not what I'm talking about. But then there's a lot of them that are just like, Neil from Dirt Poor Robins, please tune in for the premiere of that episode. Please. And then I have a surprise for you after it's done. Please do yourself a favor and let's watch this episode together. It's an important one. And Neil mentions that he can't go to certain podcasts, not because the podcaster doesn't want him on, but because the podcaster doesn't want to get blasted by, I don't want to use the word ortho bros because there's a lot of people that are put in that category that I love and I adore. I just mentioned DPH, Jay Dyer, Kyle the Orthodox. Like I respect these guys. So I'm just using the term in the way that someone, if they wanted to use it in a derogatory way, would use it. So please just listen to what I'm saying. I'm not trying to like slam some of these people. I'm just saying that it is common, and because of that, of some of their behavior, which I'm going to tell you right now what that is. Some podcasters that want to have Neil on from Dirt Poor Robins won't have him on because they're afraid that they're going to get blasted in the comments by ortho bros attacking. I've seen that myself. And he makes a lot of good points about that too. Things that we've seen. That's one thing I love about Mr. Westford, his particular style. He doesn't just slam stuff in your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, so anyways, I'll stop with the shout outs to our dear brothers and sisters out there. That's another reason why people like your podcast, Christina. That's another reason why, like, you're going to do well and you're going to do well quickly is because, you're for reals. So, to bring this all back around, there was a moment where I thought, I don't know, man, what am I doing here? Why should I do this? Blah, blah, blah. Then I get these messages. Then I get on these phone calls and talk to people. And I know it's not my ego. I have a massive ego, 100%. That's not what I'm saying. But I know this particular thing isn't about that because people that are around me on my so-called team, including my church father, including some of his spiritual sons, 2 of them in specific, including some of you guys, including my dear brothers and sisters in Texas, know how much I don't want to do this. Like, I really don't want to do this. I want this off my table because the responsibility is ridiculous. So, yeah, I have an ego problem, all that stuff. I'm a degenerate on many levels. I'm a piece of skata, as a Greek guy would say, for sure. And I'm not just saying that like, oh, I'm just the worst sinner. And I mean, I legitimately mean that. I mean, like we all are, right? Like we all are. But the thing is, I thought about dropping everything on a couple of occasions, not too seriously, but it was just like, why am I doing this, man? Oh, what the hell's going on? Hell, sorry, my apologies. I'm sorry for that use of that word. And like, do I need this? Do I want this? Like, I should be like, and then I have these conversations. People send me messages, and they're not just about our podcast. They're about all our little group, and they'll name them. They'll name them. And they'll say, thank you for doing this. I watched this episode you did with Born No More with so-and-so. Wow, I need more of that. I love that. Like they're encouraged to move in this direction. They're encouraged to keep talking. They're encouraged to reach out to some of you guys. They want to know some of you guys. You know, and that made me go, huh, okay. Well, you know, like we are like, okay, I'm not just using that word we, because a lot of people are like, oh, we, but the really person means I'll explain what I mean by we so that I can give reasoning for what I say. Yeah, I'm a little annoyed because you have to like put the stuff out there. I get it. You have to defend yourself. I totally get it. But then when there's plenty of evidence for what I'm saying, then you're questioning about the skata. And then you're like, dude, are you listening to the show? Like, I'm not really clear. Are you listening to the show? Because it doesn't, anyways. Sorry, got worked up. Can't remember where I was. Let me step that back a second. So how I know it's a we and not a me. Mela, I hope she's still here. I made a comment on, I don't remember, I think it was in an episode. See, I talk about you guys when you're not even there. Like Joe, I mentioned you. Mela, I mentioned you. Denise, I've mentioned you. And there was one time that you weren't even in there. Mela had a brilliant idea about sharing books. She has a whole bunch of books. And she wants to read new books, but she doesn't want to go spending all the money. She wants to see if there's anyone out there that wants to do a book swap and all of that stuff. She put that in our Telegram group. So join the Telegram group, join Discord, join Instagram, and use it as your own network. Please, I'll repeat that over and over again until you guys get it. It's a network. Use the network. So she used the network and she did that. And everybody thought that was a brilliant idea. So I'm talking to my buddy Germanus. And Germanus has an amazing community built on Telegram. All night vigil. When Manny gets back, I'll make sure he drops all those links in there. And Germanus has built a really good group of people over there. If you guys know me well enough, you know I'm not looking for 1 million people. I'm looking for 1,000 true fans. True fans, excuse me, that was gross. And so Mela puts this message out. It's a brilliant message. We all love it. Germanus suggests, use the all night vigil. We have like a little room for that, and that's what we do. Yes, and then Mela, this is true. I know because I talked to Germanus after, and we took your idea, Mela, and I'm like, I love this idea. Germanus says, I love this idea. Germanus says, I've always wanted to do a Craigslist for Orthodox people because he's old enough and I'm old enough. I think we're like exactly the same age to remember when Craigslist was cool, like when it was like really like a good DIY grassroots community building place, right? Like it was cool. It was cool. If you guys want me to do a breakdown on Craigslist, maybe I should, because it's a good example of DIY. It's a good example of grassroots. It's a good example of like something that worked. There's a great story about the guy who took a red paper clip and he kept trading things through Craigslist. And he traded one thing for another thing, and he got a card, and he traded that. Like he started off with the paper clip, and then it kind of moved from from a lawnmower. I can't remember what it was, and he kept trading things. He traded all the way up to a house. Anyways, back to the point. Mano veered off. Mela's idea, Germanus's idea. We're building this site already, right? With a built-in component for chatting. Where hopefully I can get it to the point where even if you have like Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever, you can actually link it to this. We haven't gotten there that far yet, but soon. Techies out there that want to help, send me a message. And what we want to do is we're already working on a crypto ecosystem based off of Cyprian from the Royal Palace. Lots of shout outs to Cyprian. I'm going to be talking to him soon, hopefully. To put this into play with the site. Again, I've repeated this before. So even if grandma doesn't know how to use crypto, or Jim Bob or whoever, not Jim Bob, Orthodox Jim Bob. Shout out to Jim Bob. Love Jim Bob. Jim Bob. Good dude. Legitimately good dude, actually. What was I going to say? I just saw Moldy's comment. That's my connection or Mano. I'm not sure what you mean there, Moldy. Yeah, Jim Bob, man, seriously, good dude. Like, he's a good guy. He shouted us out a couple times. He didn't have to do that. I've had some. Jim Bob is a real good guy. Real good guy. His show's necessary. If anyone wants to let him know I said that, I fully believe that. He's good at what he does. Jim Bob, yeah. So the crypto stuff. Okay, so let's say Denise has no idea how to use crypto or any of that stuff, and she wants to like make a purchase for something on the site. She wants to buy a Gene Reeves shirt, right? For Gene, because she loves Gene Reeves, and she wants to buy a Gene Reeves shirt, or a Royal Path shirt. Let's say, right? Let's say these guys are on our platform. Let's say that might happen. So they will be able to make that purchase using whatever form of payment that they want, and on the back end, it'll be done through crypto, right? So that you could plug in your PayPal, you could plug in your credit card, whatever, and it'll go, and then on the back end, it'll be the crypto thing. It'll go on the wallet, and then if you even want, and you want to, like, let's say you have our dear friend Jason Mirachuk is in the house. What's up, brother? So then all of a sudden you have this payment, you have this currency on your phone, and you want to go to Dallas because the whole Texas project we're working on, right? The whole Texas project we're working on. You're in Texas. You're in Dallas. You want to go to Starbucks. No problem. You pull out your thing, zap it. It'll make the conversion. I know that sounds oversimplified, as you saw Manny walk in the back. Why did I mention this? I mentioned this for some. Okay, we're gonna go to the truth thing. Hold on. Crypto. There was a reason here. Now I got sidetracked with all these things here. I don't remember what I was getting. Mela. So the Mela brings up this thing about the books. Then Germanus tells me about we're talking about his community built on Telegram, which is solid community, really good group of people in there. A lot of people you even know are in his group. So again, when Manny gets back, I'll make sure that he throws that link in the chats. And we were talking about connecting that cryptocurrency that we were just talking about, Mela's idea, Germanus's idea, and putting that and hosting that in our community, where we'll have like an orthodox Craigslist / barter / trade / all that stuff. So that's a good example of the we, because I brought this up because I was talking about we. I keep saying we, and then some people will say we, but they really mean themselves. And I don't mean that. This community is being built that way currently, openly. You can see it. People are reaching out to each other, helping each other. I can't stress that enough. I can't stress that enough. And then someone will make a suggestion like Mela made, and then Germanus will make another suggestion. Then we put that together and we build this thing that we're building. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're doing. So now I'm going to kind of head back to the truth as the value-backed currency. We're going to get to that right now. And the reason why, Mela threw something in there. Is that Germanus's Telegram group, Mela? If it is, everyone go slam that. So we talked about it with Germanus, and that's already in the works. A lot of the stuff that we're doing here is already in progress, and it's being built. Again, this stream isn't about the Texas-Mexico thing. It's not about the Border No More website stuff. This all came up as an example of how we are building this, because I think that's an important thing that you guys understand. You know what I mean? When there's a brother out there or a sister out there going through a difficult time, and we pray for them, and I'm talking to them, and they tell me that so-and-so from the community has been checking in on them, it's hard not to get emotional on that. Like, really? And they're like, yeah. And it's not just that one person. And then I was like, they're all reaching out. They're trying to make sure I'm good. I'm okay. I was like, really? That's great. You know what I mean? And then someone's working on a song and they're saying like so-and-so's help. Like, this is the point. That's when I say we, I really truly mean that. So I'll stop with that right there, and I'll get back to where I started from, talking about the truth, talking about why that matters, talking about why, when you make a mistake, you do this thing that I'm doing here. You don't have to do it this way. The reason why is because your word carries weight. So now if you hear a rumor about me, which I'm pretty sure you're going to hear some weird stuff, first of all if you want to know, just come and ask me. and basically, like what I say to people that have asked me questions, whether it's my parents, the wife, lady, whatever you want, anybody that's ever asked me a question, I said, you can ask me anything you want as long as you're okay with the answer I give you, because it's going to be blunt, it's going to be raw. And I'm like, I know my dad won't ask me certain questions because he doesn't want to feel like awkward with my blunt honesty. Do you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't always that way. I was a superb liar, like a great liar. Like, I was good, really good, like really good. Disgusting. Like, I'm not proud of that. It's gross. And about definitely by the time the video that I'm going to play for you, which is one of the earliest SOS videos I've made, I think it was my third SOS video ever in 2009, I think. And it was definitely before that. I went from like being a really good liar, like I mean really good, like really, really good. And people that know me personally, they're like, oh yeah, wow, that was a lie. Like, you know, because it was one day where I was like, I'm doing something crazy. I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to go 100% raw, unadulterated, ridiculously crazy, in your face honesty to the point where it's so uncomfortable. Don't recommend that to a lot of people. I try to tone it down now. I mean, it was rough. Like someone accused me of something like bad. And I'm like, dude, I'm worse than that. I would never do what you just said. But to prove it to you, I'll tell you something worse than what you just said. That I like, and I just like blurted this thing out, and the whole room was like, whoa. Didn't kill anybody. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't anything. I mean, I would say 90% of the people I know, you know, it wasn't anything like creepy, gross, crazy stuff. So let's just make that clear. No murder involved or any SA or anything like that. Nothing like that. So the point I'm getting at is, I know now when I look at my family, friends, or people that know me, or any of you guys, and you know, I've had people come to me and they said, so-and-so said this about you. And I looked at that person and I said, bullshit. Excuse my language. Bullshit. And then the other person's like, what do you mean bullshit? It's like, Mano would tell me to F off to my face. There's no way he said that. So the person came to me and asked me, and I was like, no, man, I would tell you to your face. They've seen me do that. You know what I'm saying? Someone challenged me something. Someone said something to me recently that said, you wouldn't say that to my face. Someone said that to me recently on a stream. And the irony of that is, when I said that to Manny, he's like, oh, that person does not know you, right? Like, I will just come at you and just say it in your face. My life is a disaster. So by the way, if you think I'm trying to build some sort of like, I'm great, this is not what I'm saying. But when it comes to being blunt, raw, and honest, that's not a problem I have. That's not a problem I have. Apologizing when I've made a mistake is not a problem I have at all. I've done it again. Did it recently. I don't have that problem. But at the same time, my word carries value. Not because I'm a good person. Oh, you just think you're better. When you talk to a malaka, that's the first thing they say. Oh, you think you know me better than I know me? No. Dude, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you flat out, the reason my word carries value is because that crazy son of a gun will tell you to your face to F off. He'll go right up to the CEO of a highly like bajillion dollar company, which I did, this company that I used to work for, open the door after knocking, sit down and tell this, like, I'll just do that. And it's not because I'm a better person than that. So what I'm getting at, we live in a world full of lies. We know that. We've seen that. You know, people are like claiming to be something that they're not, like from an animal to chopping their body parts off to like making you like say things that you know are a lie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sick of it. I've said this before, but just think of the disgusting nature of that person is lying. Everybody knows they're lying and they want to force you to lie with them. Like, what is that? Right? Sorry, I'll calm down. I'll chill. And that's just, I just can't participate in that anymore. I just can't do that. But I'm telling you, the future, the way I see it, everything's so ambiguous. Everything's so subjective. Everything's like on this like loose ground. Everything's like made up on the spot. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, the only thing that carries any weight is your word. If you have it, if you keep it, right? Like I always tell my daughter, I've said this 100 times. If someone says, I don't know, if someone says, I'm sorry. Trust that person. I've said this 100 times. I'm going to say it again. I'm saying it for myself. Again, like I started off in the beginning of the stream, this stream is me working out thoughts. This is mostly for me, less for you. So to my daughter, the reason why I say that is because if someone that says I'm sorry when they're wrong, and they say I don't know when they don't know, you better believe that when they make a mistake, because they will make a mistake and they'll double down on something that they think is true, but when it turns out to not be true, that person will come to you and say, you know what I said last year about this or that person, I don't agree with that anymore. I found out some information. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Sorry is in the Canadian sense? No, not sorry in the Canadian sense. The Canadian sense of sorry is ridiculous. You say sorry for things that you don't mean. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like such not an orthodox thing to do. I'm starting to realize. Moldy says, do it, Jordan B. Peterson voice. I can't, but it is kind of interesting to know. Just a little side note. Like I said, we interviewed Neil from Dirt Poor Robbins today, so it is really interesting. There's a good chance Jonathan Peugeot is going to watch that episode, and Jordan B. Peterson, and we're gonna have Neil back on. I'm gonna ask some challenging questions. I think, and here he is. Here he is, our dear friend Dirt Poor Robin. Neil is here. How you doing, brother? Our conversation today led me to doing this because we talked about a lot of truths. We talked about a lot of things in that conversation, and a lot of things I've been thinking about this week really gave birth to this conversation we're having here today. And a lot of the things you said, my dear brother, it's not even about that. It was just I find it interesting that there's a possibility that Peugeot, in particular, would check it out. But no, which is why I didn't really bring them up in our interview, Neil, because you I'm not just saying that because you're in the chats. I've said that openly before. You dropped some serious bombs, man. He blew my mind today. I think the audience knows. Anytime I've said that a guest has blown my mind, it's always been true. And it was like one after the other. You can clearly see it on my face. But he dropped some really truth bombs. Sorry, just because you just jumped in the chat, Neil, and a few other people just jumped in recently. What Neil said about the ortho bros thing. So sorry if I'm repeating this for those of you that heard it earlier. I just think it's important, and it's part of the truth thing I'm going to get to in a second here, a little bit more of it. What he said about some of the approach that is taken online, and the fact that there'll be podcasts out there that want to have a guest on like Neil, but won't because they're afraid that they're going to get blasted by, quote unquote ortho bros. Again, I'm using that in the, not in the way that it's used against me or some other people. I think that's dangerous. I think that's the opposite of truth. Like we said earlier, we started this stream with a clip from Joe Strummer talking about humanity, and then I followed it up with DPH, David Patrick Carey's Church of the Eternal Logos, talking about truth as a who and not a what. And so basically what I'm getting at is a lot of that conversation, a lot of the conversations I had this week, a lot of the thoughts I've had, a lot of the moments I had were like, why am I doing this? Am I being honest with myself for doing this podcasting? Who am I to do this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I doing this for the wrong reasons? We can't make, excuse my example, but we can't make our faith just a band shirt that you wear. It can't be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want that. Right. So all these things playing in my head, the rattling in my head. And it reminded me of what I was talking about the currency of your word and how you conduct yourself. If you're true to truth, people will know that when you speak it. There are examples in all of our lives where we sat at a table, we met a stranger, and they tell you some fantastical story. And then everybody at the table goes, I believe this guy. Like that story is a little, but just the way that they hold themselves, not the con man type, but like just, you could tell the way the person's presenting the information, and you've experienced the opposite where a guy's saying something, it all makes sense, but you're like, something about this guy, something. So there's that. But then there's also the people that you know in your life. And again, the two things I look for is, can someone say, I'm sorry when they're wrong? And can they say, I don't know when they don't know? Okay. Bring it back full circle. Manny, are you able to throw things on this screen? Can you find on the study of stuff? I think it's the third video. I think it's called Philosophical Rants. So I should have had this set up beforehand. I apologize for the unprofessional approach here. It's the quality of a question, a philosophical rant, part 1. If you could throw, you'll have control of pause and all that. I won't have control. Or you, okay, throw that up there for me, and I'll just do that. Moldy says, I said, I'm sorry, man. I never meant to hurt you. Brother, you never hurt me, man. We're good. Except when you call me the Pope. Okay, so when I started going down this road, there's an intro video to the study of stuff, which is not this one. And I talk about how, again, all of the stuff I put out there is mostly like a notebooking for myself to kind of like, think my ideas in front of an audience and have them nitpick it, just like get it all out. That's kind of how I do things. So the very first video I put out in 2009, it was about the right answer to the wrong question. And it was giving, so that little axiom, it was just giving my expectations of what I was planning to do with the things I was studying. At the time, I was really deeply immersed into like Jungian psychology, the ideas of like flow states, stuff in occultism, like the Hermeticism, which everyone in my audience knows how deeply I went into that stuff. That was mostly my focus, trying to understand the subconscious, trying to understand symbolism in the Jungian approach, which is how I ended up at the Jordan Peterson lecture way before he became famous at U of T, because he used to do some lectures at U of T. It's actually how I found Jay Dyer too, who Jay Dyer's approach to Jung and Jordan Peterson are like opposed. They're opposite almost. Anyways, I digress. The point is, I was going down this rabbit hole. I knew that like if I didn't have something to ground me, that I would get lost down this rabbit hole of just crazy information. What are you consuming? What is the point? What are you trying to get at? And I decided, going back to the whole beginning, and like you guys have heard me say, that my dad, one of the very first things that I said was, what is true? I was always consumed with this idea. What is true? What is that thing that when I stare in a mirror, something stares back at me? What is that thing? Like, I'm talking about pre-Orthodox, right? Or I'm talking about when I was a child. Like, what was that thing that speaks to me? Like, what is that thing? What is that thing? And I decided that truth was all I cared about at any cost. And again, I don't necessarily recommend blunt honesty like that, but that is what I was talking about in my very first video. So I came up with an axiom to keep myself grounded and to kind of give my compass point, where my true north was. And that was the axiom. You'll hear me say it in this video. The right answer to the wrong question remains a wrong answer. Spend more time with the question. So in this video, I don't remember what I explained or how I went about it. I watch it every once in a while when I come to this point in my life where I'm like, why am I doing all this stuff? Like, am I doing this for me? Is this my ego? Like, what am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? I always go back to that thing. Right answer to the wrong question remains the wrong answer. Actually, that axiom got my butt out of the occult. That axiom got me back to Christ. It really, truly did, because my only GPS in my, again, I hope this doesn't sound like I think I'm better than people. I really don't. I could admit some disturbing stuff where I'm clearly not that good person. But my GPS coordinate was what's true. That's all I wanted to know at any cost. Like I was like willing to just bet it all. I'm in Mexico, for God's sakes, for these reasons, and I've lost a lot because of it. But it led me back. It led me back to that. Three things led me back. That axiom. There was some other stuff like looking into some subjects, but that axiom kept me looking, kept me digging. Like I wasn't satisfied with this nihilistic nothing belief of nothing, like the all that permeates and penetrates all things. What is that? That's how I viewed God. What is that? If that's everything, it's nothing. It would always feel so like empty. You know what I mean? Like you're hungry, you're starving, and you eat all this McDonald's, a Big Mac, and then you're done and you feel sick, but you still feel hungry. Like it felt like that. And I was like, this is so depressing. Like I don't like the thought that if I die, I become part of everything, which is nothing. There's nothing. Like it drove me crazy. And that didn't make sense to me. I didn't see that in nature. Sorry for getting worked up. It's been a week. Neil, this is your fault too. No, just kidding. It's not. So this just get me going. I'm like that. So it was that. It was seeing the faith from a totally different point of view. Like Death to the World, Buck Johnson introducing me to Father Turbo, to Justin Marler, and I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's something I didn't get here, I didn't understand. I inverted all the things I was learning in Hermeticism, the 7 principles, and I flipped them. And when you flip them, you see, oh my God, this is orthodoxy. That's like, boom, that's right in your face. Bam, there it is, right there. That's it. Keep going. That's what kind of got me back out of that, led me back to this, was that axiom, right? That axiom. And believe me, when you're at an anarcho-capitalist festival in Mexico, jam-packed with anarchists, agorists, and libertarians, and a lot of atheists, sponsored by Anarchapulco, and I giving a presentation because I was asked to speak, and this is right when I was like, I was so conflicted at that point. I wasn't fully Orthodox. I was looking there. I was so conflicted. I was so angry at the nothingness of this thing. And I was going to give this talk. And I took the paper, I crumpled it up, and I threw it away. And I'm like, I just can't talk this crap. So I'm just gonna go up there and just blah, 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 blah. So I started just going through the process of how I got there. I was using I have it on. I'm probably gonna put it out there just because I'm gonna break it down for anyways. I digress. But towards the end, so you can't tell them like, yo, okay, guys, I'm considering Orthodox Christianity here. They're gonna lynch you, especially at the point where I was too. I was kind of like not embarrassed by it, but I was like, I don't want to tell these people, So picture an anarchist, anarcho-capitalist group. There's about 30 or 40 in front of me, and I'm building to this thing. And I mentioned the Tavistock Institute. I mentioned a couple of documents that got me out of it, the Changing Images of Man. Some things I've talked about before. I started talking about the language of God, of creation, the phi ratio, how you can measure your face by using like just the tip of your nose to your chin. You can measure your entire body because your body's created through, using the golden mean and all that stuff. So I built this whole thing up, and I was doing really good. And I get towards the end and I started telling them, are there anyone in here that believes in monarchy? That's the next to like saying you're an Orthodox Christian, saying that you're bringing up monarchy at a convention like that's going to get you in trouble. And then all of a sudden, quick shout outs to Tatiana. What's up? Welcome, Tatiana. By the way, we mentioned you earlier. We interviewed our dear friend Neil at Dirt Poor Robbins because of you. So shout outs to Tatiana today. So I mentioned that I'm going towards monarchy. And I asked anyone to put up their hands if they believed in monarchy. 0 people put up their hands. And I said, I'm going to tell you a few things, and by the end of this, you're going to be a monarchist. So a lot of them grabbed their seats, they pulled it forward, and they're like literally, that's what they were doing. I wish I had a shot of the audience. There was like a bunch of them. They're just like, they moved. I'm like, okay, this is going to get trouble. We're going to get in trouble here. I didn't bring up Christianity because I wasn't fully there yet. I didn't fully wrap my mind around how I felt about it. But I was most definitely moving towards Symphonia, the way that the original church kind of governed and how they all put things together and all that stuff. Synods and decentralized systems, all of that. I was already there, but I'm not going to tell that these things. So basically, I made it about, well, if you're an anarchist, or a monarchos, like if you let's look at these 2 words from Greek, Anarchos meaning nobody's in rule. Like it's anarchy. Like there is archondas would be the ruler. Anarchos, there's nobody's in rule. Like there's none. It's chaos, right? And then you have monarchos. You have one person ruling, right? And I started just to give it from the perspective of the individual. If you don't have control of yourself, if you don't have an understanding of what your value systems are, why you believe what you believe, where it comes from, you will be governed by someone else, because you'll always look for a religion, whatever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be, it could be sports, it could be whatever. You'll idolize these things, right? By the end, I broke this down, and at the end, I asked again, how many of you guys, by the definition of monarchy, that way I used it, would be monarchist? I'm going to tell you right now, there's only 3 people that didn't put their hands up. They came to talk to me after the talk. Why am I saying this? Oh yeah, truth. So if I had continued that career without incorporating orthodoxy in my life, without accepting the truth is a who, not a what, without constantly asking myself the right answer to the wrong question, like what is it? Like this isn't making any sense. This isn't making any sense. They really wanted to hear my hermeticism. They loved it when I gave some of it, because I was like going to counter it. They were just like, oh, they were all over it. They were like, oh man, yeah, and I was only interested in what's true. So being that that's what it was, I had to give that talk. I had to accept the fact that I might get lynched here. Like, I mean, seriously, if you've ever been to an anarcho-capitalist scenario and you say something like that, like I mentioned it to Cyprian Vinarmani, I mentioned it to Buck Johnson, who both they know that world. They're like, whoa, yeah, they're going to come for you, man. So at that point, I could have just kept lying and just put on a show and just kept going down that path and just ignored what I realized to be true, and I would have broke for sure. Like I would have popped. I was already building on something. It would have been good career-wise, this and that. So I gave that up because I don't care. It wasn't even a thought. Like it's all about the truth. It's all about the truth to me. So the reason why I'm bringing up all this stuff is because and I'm going to repeat it again because I think it bears repeating, at least for myself, is like, we live in a world where one of the most difficult and dangerous things to do in some settings is be honest. Like, it's being honest can get you in trouble now. You're being forced to make lies and accept someone's lie. Like, you don't think when you're looking at someone that's done something medically to themselves and they're trying to convince you that there's something else, you get what I'm saying? You don't think that if you went into that person's head and you're like, this person's clearly male and they're telling, you know what I'm saying, right? Like that whole thing. You don't think that, you know what I mean? So because we live in this world full of all that stuff, because we live in a world with synthetic art, synthetic images, synthetic music, synthetic TV shows, movies, like everything, it's just like regurgitated garbage. We're swimming in a sea of mediocrity because anybody can put anything they want out there. The consumer has been dumbed down. They don't even care about quality. They don't even want to invest their time in giving their attention to something. So again, not because he's in the chats and not because whatever, but we did have this conversation today. You can't go and listen to a Dirt Poor Robin's album and then have it as like a surface thing. It requires your participation. It requires you engage with it. You see what I'm saying? A lot of the podcasts in our community, you can't just tune in to one of a lot of the stuff that people in our community. You got to invest your time. Like you got to like participate by thinking, by engaging with this thing. And because we live in a world where anyone could just make whatever they want, put it out there, and then a lot of the people that support these let's call them intellectual masturbation, if I can say it that way, or whatever, because people will go and like throw cash at that encourages that person to make more skata. Like I know content creators that are they don't know what to do, because when they will put out quality content, nobody wants to watch it. But if someone watches them arguing with someone, they're throwing cash at them, and they're like, well, I got to pay the bills. We live in a world full of skata. We live in a world full of mediocrity, but there's so much beauty. And what Neil, I wish I could just play that thing right now, but like a lot of the things that we talked about with Neil, a lot of things I talked about with Father Turbo, a lot of things I talked about with Cyprian, a lot of things I talked about with Father John Valadez, a lot of the things I talked about with some of you guys personally this week shows me that there's a thirst, there's a hunger for honest, true, be yourself, the disgusting parts and the good parts and all that stuff. That is going to have such value moving forward. I strongly believe that, because we're swimming in a sea of skata. Like, we're just swimming in a sea of skata. Oh, I just saw Mela's name. Mela suggested that the video by Father Moses. I didn't get a chance to watch that. I kept forgetting, because you mentioned that he was saying something similar as to what I was saying on the last stream. Oh, Tatiana, thank you so much. Tatiana gifts 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Oh, I love you, sister. Everyone, big shout out to Tatiana, who's quitting smoking, who's in the process. I hope that's going well. Tatiana, definitely in my prayers. That's a tough one. I've been there, quitting smoking. Anyways, guys, I hope I'm not veering off too far. I hope my rambles are, they make sense. I'm just trying to have this conversation so that I'm holding myself accountable. That I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm sorry to repeat this again, but it's really important to me that I don't want to capitalize on our faith, because, let's be honest, there is a built-in audience, and I don't want to participate in that. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is for real. I want to make sure that, I'm not, putting on a show and really push the message of truth, and how hard it is sometimes to hear it, and how important it is to bring it, to make that a guiding force in your life, and why. Sorry, I'm having hard time getting this next part out. I guess the way I'm trying to put it is, when you're a joke, and if you're doing things for the wrong reasons, and sometimes it's okay to know that and ask for that to be course correct. You know what I mean? Because you're acknowledging there's a lie there, but then you can't put that forward and lie to others, because if we're made in the image of God, Neil pointed this out, Justin Marler's pointed this out, in conversations I've had, Father Turbo has pointed this out, and it's a good point. If you constantly remember who you are, I used to say this a lot. No, okay. So the image, what they all said, I'll say specifically what they were saying. They were talking about reminding yourself that you're made in the image of God. And if you're doing something to someone else, obviously you're doing it to yourself. We're all connected in that sort of way. Paraphrasing, that's the point that they're getting at. On my solo album that I put out before coming back to Orthodoxy, it was during the events of 2020, 2021. I put it out after my band and all that stuff. On that last part of it, I gave this little blurb, kind of like what I do on SOS. I was talking about, it's more important to consider who you are rather than what you are. Who you are matters far more than what you are. Let me explain. The what you are is the this is me. I could be wrong. This is me just going, spitting out stuff. The what you are is what what am I? I am human. I am a Greek. I was born Greek Canadian. I'm male. This is what I am. This is what I am. I am that. That's what. But that's not who I am. That's what I am currently. But it's not who I am. And if you consider who you are and who I am, I used to say something different than I say now, because I've come back to Orthodoxy. Who I am, I used to say who I am is who I was before I was born, who I am while I'm alive, and who I'm going to be after I die. That's what I used to say. Who I am, who are you? Who were you before you were born? Who are you now while you're alive? And who will you be when you die? Now, to make it a bit more orthodox, a lot more orthodox, and the only thing that matters to me, again, is the truth, the who, not the what. Again, shout outs to David Patrick Carey, Church of the Eternal Logos, for putting that clip. I made that clip for him because that was a trigger point for a lot of us in the early days of trying to figure things out during the pandemic. The truth is a who, not a what. So who I am is I am child of God, created in the image of God. That's who I am. So that there is all that matters to me now, and it's why I jabbered for this last little while and what I've been talking about and what I'm trying to get out there, and why I'm saying that the currency of the future is going to be the value of your word. It's going to be, do you know how to say I'm sorry when you're wrong? Do you know how to say I don't know when you don't know? Again, I'm not a good guy. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody else, but this raw honesty thing has been something I've been practicing for a while. There's some shortcomings to it. I have to adapt it a little bit better. But to me, that's all that's been important. I keep repeating that just because that's the whole point of why I wanted to talk about this, and that this currency of your word, the value of your word, will hold weight moving forward. Will hold weight if someone's saying something about you behind your back. You're like, well, I've talked to this guy. I don't know if that'll hold. You know what I mean? If I give you my word, if Mano gives you your word, you're like, this guy will keep his word. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I've gone on a couple of streams and I've admitted things that were, difficult, were mistakes I made. You know what I mean? The one that comes to mind is that episode of my favorite SOS radio episode was the one where I was talking about Youth of the Apocalypse. It was like an hour during the day, and it was like all Orthodox. It was Orthodox radio. It was just Orthodox content, and we focused on Youth of the Apocalypse because it had just been released. I had just read it a couple nights in a row, and it triggered some thoughts in my mind, and I publicly apologized for some stuff that I was saying on some of my podcasts where I got worked up, and I started to think about the concept and idea of not the concept, but the action of the logismi, chirping in your ear. When you have a camera, you have a mic, it gets to your head sometimes. You start just jabbering and, saying things, and sometimes they're not even your thoughts. This is something we need to take into account if we're putting out content. I think it's very important. So on that episode of SOS Radio, Orthodox Radio, of the Youth of the Apocalypse one, the image of Justin Marler is constantly in my head now. Well, because he puts it so well in the book. And then, like that image of this child, he's a kid, early 20s, you're a kid, sitting in a hut that he made with his own hands by candlelight, etching it with, on this little pad, sitting there in the dark, writing this thing, dealing with all of the baggage and the nihilistic thoughts, and how do you balance that? Like, this is just the way I was thinking about it. He's like struggling. Reminds me very much of like the example or the image of Saint Joseph the Hesychist sitting in his cave, battling his demons, going through the prayer rope and then just getting attacked, and like that's what I'm like. You're alone. You're in this moment. Your only lifeline is existing for the next day, making sure you're going to eat the next day. Laboring in the way he's going to labor, and your thoughts. And your thoughts at the end of the night, right? Those thoughts, right? And that's when the logismi, for me, they just creep in. So that episode, the reason why I went there is because I was reading Youth of the Apocalypse again. I read that part. I had the image of this guy that came out of a scene that I know not as well as, obviously I wasn't in the Bay, but I know the scene. I know that so you're in that scene. You're in that scene. You see these things, and you're alone in this hut. I just hut in the middle of Alaska, floating on. I'm sure it wasn't like that, but in my head it's like floating on this on this like ice island. No, it wasn't, but I'm just picturing it. And you're doing this battle, and then you're going to be confronted with something called truth. And if you come out of that, I'm assuming, because I've never done that, kind of right where we are now in Mexico is a little bit like that. Like I said earlier, Manny and I are literally stepping on blood-soaked ground at the hands of a most definitely pagan, satanic group of people. Not all the Mesoamericans in the past were like that, just to be clear. There's a massive difference between a lot of them, but the Aztecs undoubtedly. So we're literally drifting in a dark place. Not Mexico. Mexico's great. The Mexican people are amazing. You guys heard my love for the Mexican people and how much I want to bring Orthodoxy, help move help what Vladika Dmitry of Dallas wanted. Just turn, and like not me. I want to help with what tech connect the South to Mexico. All that, I want to see that here, and they need that here. And then the Mexican people here, when they hear about orthodoxy, the mysteria, the mysteries of our faith, the way that the way that our faith is put together, they're very attached to it. They're very connected to it because So I digress. I'm not in the middle of Alaska, floating on ice in a hut, dealing with my demons as a 23. I think he was 23 when he got up there. I think early 20s, young man, seen some stuff, dealt with demons in the secular world, over here floating. Like that's not the same where I'm doing now, but I have had my moments here trying to deal with my garbage, my broken up family situation, Canada the way it is, a bunch of stuff. Wow, I've been rambling for so long. I'm sorry if this is stupid or whatever. I apologize. I'm just kind of like, getting it out there. And all that's going to carry weight in the end of the day is my word, the word of the people around me. And like I could see which individuals now that I've met, many who I can trust, who I can't. And I'm just using that original axiom that I came up with. The right answer to the wrong question remains a wrong. The right answer to the wrong question remains a wrong answer. Spend more time with the question. So I'm going to bring up one of the very first videos I did for Study of Stuff. I think it was the third video I did for Study of Stuff. The very first video I think I recorded in 2009. I can't remember if I posted it in 2009 or I posted it in 2010, but it was around that time when my daughter was born. And the very first video is me putting myself in check about like knowing somehow that there was a danger in getting lost in a lot of the things I was studying in the occult, hermeticism, psychology, all that stuff. Modern, a lot of modernity, a lot of modern ways of thinking. And I knew that I had to have a lifeline. I knew I need to have something. So for me, it was that axiom that I kept repeating. Sorry that I'm repeating everything. It's just to kind of tie it all together. And having that axiom repeated to me all the time, but like internally. And the video that I'm going to show you, I watch it from time to time to remind myself of that place I was and why I did what I did. That is what got me to continue digging for the truth, which led me back to orthodoxy. And I'll play that right now. And again, I'll just make note of it. We're humans created in the image of God. And a tree isn't straight. It has jagged edges. It's crooked. Reality has a darkness to it, like in terms of like, some things smell, these kinds of things. With Neil, we talked about death today, and that's important. Brings things back into perspective. It is a reason why you see a lot of pictures of old philosophers with skulls on their desk, by the way, or holding a skull. It was just to remind them of that. And yeah, okay. Now I'm going off too far. I apologize. I'm going to throw this video up, and then I wanted to watch it with you guys. If you're interested in watching it, if you're not, I totally get it. I do this every once in a while to bring myself back to home base. I do this yes, memento mori, 100% memento mori. Yeah, I like the hat that Justin has that says memento mori on it. It's pretty cool. I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can figure to get one of those out. Also, way back in the day, I read the first 3 chapters of The Art of Unseen Warfare, which I believe he's putting out soon. Yeah, he sent it to me a long time ago. Oh man, I'm really looking forward to that book. Whoo, yeah, it's good. The first 2 chapters are like seriously, like I don't know. No, I'm not going to ruin it, but like even the prologue, how he starts it and why, like, oh, it's just so good. Anyways, I digress yet again. So on that one note, I'll put a pin there by just saying our online Orthodox community, more importantly, our actual Orthodox community, more importantly, the human beings that we know in our Orthodox community out there, from musicians to filmmakers to podcasters to authors to priests, of course, to bishops, to lay people, to mothers who try to homeschool and raise their kids, to fathers that get up and go do their thing so that their family's taken care of. We are absolutely, truly blessed to have multiple talented human beings in our community. I can guarantee you that. From my heart, I say that. From my heart, I say that. I've gotten to know a lot of these people now, somewhat personally, some of them very personally, and it's touching to see that. So I mean, we need to take that. We need to take that and remind ourselves of how important that is, and that these people. Oh man, I wish I'd put the episode out with Neil. So you please tune in for that episode when we premiere that with Neil from Dirt Poor Robbins. I'm telling you, it's like a bam, 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 just mind-blowing stuff. You know what? I'll save it for that episode. Let's all watch that together. I'll point out what I wanted to get at about why I made that comment. But I just want to say that we do have we do have a lot of special not specials, maybe not the right word, but we're blessed to have a lot of well-meaning, good intending human beings out there that truly have a love for Christ, for life, for our faith, and really want to see it blossom. That I can tell you for sure. And we're all going to make mistakes. I'm the first, I make lots. Sorry. Oh, wow. You guys are still with me. I just looked at the count. I'm just going to quickly look at some of the comments and see if there's anything worth commenting. Manny, if there's anything that you caught, just let me know. If not, that's cool. I'm just going to go through the comments right now. And then I'll put up the video that I watch every so often to put myself in check. Again, the reason why I'm doing this, for anyone that just tuned in, is I was really asking myself this week, like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Like, I don't want to be a joke to these people. Like that's not what this is about. Like my praxis is horrible right now. And like, you know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Like, this isn't something you play with people's spiritual life. You know what I mean? Like, don't listen to me like that. Like, why people, like all that stuff was running in my head. This thing with Texas and Mexico, I'm like, oh my, I have no problem taking risk, but I'm like, I'm talking about people's spiritual life. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this. And then, like I said, I got a lot of messages in the last little while that a lot of people were fed up with online Orthodox content to some degree. And that it was a breath of fresh air being, encountering some different podcasters and different content creators that aren't the type that Neil was referring to at the end of our interview. And a lot of people, sent messages saying that certain things that we've talked about, certain people's music, certain books, certain podcasts, were a lifeline. The ones I mentioned were specifically mentioned by multiple people, and I would say about 17 now. I thought I was about 15, but it's about 17 people messaging me saying that they almost gave up. Some people that were, ortho curious were like, they had a bad taste in their mouth because some people presented things in a particular way, and they were actually going to be like, no, I'm just going to go look at Catholicism or whatever. And then they encountered, the stuff I mentioned earlier, the podcast I mentioned earlier, books that I've already mentioned. I'm not going to, because I don't want to mention them specifically because I might forget a few people. So that gave me the kick in the butt to say, okay, well, that's a responsibility, right? That's kind of important, right? It's kind of important, to show people that there's a Gene Reeves out there. This guy in Texas making amazing music, and he's Orthodox. That there's Doug Burr out there, a guy in Denton, Texas, making amazing music with Dave Sims. You know, there's Justin Marler out there writing books about the subject, who, you know, Death to the World and Punk to Monk. That story has helped many people. Like, I know for sure, 100%. You know what I mean? And then, you know, the Royal Path. Dear Poor Robbins. I had someone message me today about you guys. I sent you the clip, Neil. I don't know. You know, that was like, someone's like, oh, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah, of course it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, and you know, Counterflow, Buck Johnson. I would never have, like, you know what I mean? I think I just bounced around a little bit too much here. Apologize, my dear friends, if I'm, you know, just spitting, just, you know, ramming into this thing. All right, I'll look at the chats real quick, and then I'm going to toss up the video. Let's see. Our dear brother Alexander Walker says, Denise, yeah. Oh, see, I always do this backwards. I suck at this comment box thing because you're supposed to start from the top going down. So maybe I won't go through it. All I'll say is, thank you guys for being here. Yeah, let's watch this together. All right, Manny, how do I do this? Or you got this?
Hey guys, Mano here. Some philosophical rants, I suppose. That's what this is going to be. But I did want to take some time out to comment on one of the little statement I made in the intro video about the right answer to the wrong question remains a wrong answer. Therefore, you must spend more time with the question. The importance of that in my life has been immense, especially like getting into the whole studying and looking for whatever, you know, researching and blah blah blah. Reason why it was so important that I kept that circulating in the back of my head at all times is because if you ask the wrong questions, your mind, well, let me start from the perspective of the mind, the brain, whatever, it always has to prove itself right at all times. So your perception of reality is completely based on your programming in your subconscious, and how you perceive, and your belief systems is how what you'll end up seeing in your life. For example, have you ever been in a car or around someone that's a super negative, angry person? You see it. You see it in how they drive. You see people cutting them off. They have a lot of, like, they're given a lot of reason to be angrier, to prove to themselves, yeah, like, people suck. You know, don't trust anyone. You know, I had someone tell me to lie to people, like as if it was like some sort of advice to lie to people, like, and you know, I've done that myself in the past, and a liar always thinks you're lying to them.
Pause.
So the question.
So right there is like, I'm trying to explain, like, I remember at that time in my life, I would notice people like, oh, people are the worst. Oh, everyone just steals from you. Or, you know, these kinds of things, people make these blanket statements. And then I would watch them, like, you know, as a third party observer, like, I would try to, like, take my consciousness. This was like something I used to do. And I used to, like, try to pull it out of my head, and I would vision it this way. And I would have it like on the side, like, so you can't see me doing it, on the side here, and kind of watching me watch someone else. So I'm also watching myself. I would do this experiment. And then I would notice that people that had these things, that was their GPS coordinate in their little location finding thing. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, people are jerks, so they're gonna see that. So it's not just like, you know, it's just like attracts like, and oh my god, it's as simple as that. Like, they'll see that stuff. It's a simple thing. I'm not saying anything complicated here, but that is how I would apply the right answer to the wrong question. I would, you know, if I was that person, and I have had versions of that myself, and I'm like, is it true that people are jerks? Is that actually true? So then, like, asking that question, you would go looking for that, and you'd be like, okay, maybe it's not true. Maybe it is true. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. Everyone's a jerk. Maybe it's not true. But let's ask that question and look around. So you start looking around. Manny, if you drop in Dirt Poor Robbins, drop in a YouTube link and Spotify, if you don't mind, for Dirt Poor Robbins in the chats, please. So that was the point I was trying to make there in that thing, because I remember watching one person in specific who had this belief that everyone's a jerk, everyone does this and that, And I would watch this person drive. I'd watch this person, walk down the street. And if someone was going to cut somebody off, they're going to cut this person off every time, like every time, to the point where like maybe it was a mean thing to do, but myself and someone else would make a game out of it without telling that other person, and we would count how many times this person is going to get cut off. You know what I mean? Like it was that thing, and it's like that's kind of like the point I'm making there. Okay, Manny, hit play again.
They have in their heads are giving them answers to verify their opinions of the world. And then the reverse is true, of course, of the optimist, of the person that sees things positively. And I'm not referring to those people that walk around, I have a good attitude, and I love life, think positive. But yet, you know that there's chattering in the back of their skull that isn't positive. And I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people that truly are positive and happy. Or, they have their moments of sad, but they're overall happy people. You see how individuals in the street react to them. How when they go to buy something and they get change, they get a smile. How automatically, they're in need of something and boop, there it is, You definitely see it. And I hang out with some people that are positive and negative and see the difference. Anyways, I'm trying to make a complicated thing very simple, so I'm not trying to go into too many details. Now, the whole reason I kept this axiom of, keeping the right question in mind at all times was, when you're veering off into the endless domain of information and philosophy and so on and so forth, if you have the right intention in mind, eventually, even if you gravitate to something that may not be correct, you'll end up correcting your course by reminding yourself that you're looking for truth. So
that's the point I was making when I was talking about when I was like at the point where it was like looking at this hermeticism stuff that I was into and my worldview and the nihilistic meaning of like if everything is like if you're part of everything and everything is everything, then there's nothing. Like it was so gross to me. It was so the utmost nihilistic way of thinking. For me, for someone that was always looking for meaning, that was like the worst thing that I could like conclude is like I'm just gonna be part of everything, so I'm nothing. Like there's no like what's the point? You know what I mean? And the point I'm making in that thing is when I hit that moment and I was at the anarchist convention to give my talk at Anarchopolco event full of anarchists, full of atheists, full of like all of that. And I'm like, I scrap my speech and I go into the speech and I end up at monarchy and I'm hinting to Christianity and all this stuff. Like, I don't think if you guys haven't been in those circles, like they get rough, dude. Like it's like next level. Like it's like, yeah, right. So at that point, the only thing that got me out of all that was what I was just saying there, that even I was making a mistake in where I was looking for the answer. But where I was looking, even though it was the wrong place, right? My only concern and thought was what is true? Like what is true? At any cost. And when I was confronted with truth, the truth is a who, not a what. And I started to understand that and started to look at that. I'm like, well, I'm going in. I'm doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the point I'm trying to make there is like, I walked into this world 20 odd years ago, leaving my faith to venture off into this world where it was just a bunch of mental masturbation. That's all it was. But my intention, my thought, what got me into it, it wasn't like the other reasons, like a lot of the reasons guys get into like conspiracy, whatever, blah, blah, or alternative ways of thinking. It was basically, I was obsessed. What is that thing that looks back at me in the mirror? What is that? That's real. I know that's real. I know it's real. I know it's real. I was obsessed with what is consciousness? How can we ask questions to ourselves? What is that? What is that triggers that? That's what got me in. And I wasn't going to give up until I figured something out that I was okay with. And when I got to the end, and, it wasn't true. I knew it wasn't true. Like the all that's how they viewed God in Hermeticism, the all that permeates and penetrates all things. Although with a couple different word plays, you could see that they took the Nicene Creed and flipped it. That's another thing that got me out of it, is inverting their inversions, which is the whole point of this show. And what we do, we re-engineer their social engineering. We take their inversions and invert it back to the way it's supposed to be. And it was based on that. Like, the right answer to the wrong question remains a wrong answer. Therefore, ask better questions. So I'm like, I have to rejig this question. The question has to be more like, what is true? I don't care about what is true, what's true, what's true. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, an example of it would be like, okay, if I ask you which point up, you'll go like this. If I ask you point down, you'll go like this, right? Now, I'm not getting into an argument of flat earth or globe earth. I'm not having that conversation. I'm just saying, for someone that's a flat earther, this and this means something totally different than to someone that believes it's a globe. For someone that believes that they're on a globe, if they do up and they do down, they realize that's a relative situation and position, because there truly is no up or down in space. For someone that believes in a flat earth, again, this is not a debate on that subject. I'm just pointing out, they're both doing this. They're both doing this, but it means two different things. To the person on the flat earth, up is up and down is down. It's not relatively speaking. That's what it is. So the question that those two people have to ask is, and they have to spend their time on, is not what is up and what is down. The question they need to ask, again, is not what is up and what is down. The question, again, is, am I on a flat earth or am I on a globe earth? Techno Noir, welcome to the chats. I've seen like a lot of people commenting that they're getting ready to read Youth of the Apocalypse, or they're you know, all that stuff. I love seeing that. Please read that book. Tech says, we are the youth of the apocalypse. Yeah. You know, something that Justin said in that interview with Buck that was so simple but disturbed me. Not Justin Martin. Dude, think about that. What he said in there, he said it's like, we're beyond nihilism. We're at the point where people are presented with truths and they don't even care. When they realize that what they believe isn't true, they don't even care to look into it. That wasn't a swear word. I was going to say four. It wasn't F bomb. To look into it. That's disturbing, man. He's right. He's 100% right. That is disturbing. That is where you're already dead. You're already dead. You know what I mean? Like, you're dead. How do you, what do you talk? What do you say to someone that's in that position? That they should care? You can try. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that's going to snap that person out of that is being confronted with death. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, they can't even put in a GPS of what is true. Like, they don't care. Like, they don't care. If you're old enough to remember, I know a bunch of the musicians and Gen Xers in the chats will tell you this 100%, millennials too. Back in the day, if you told someone you were lip singing, whoa, never mind someone like Ghost wrote your song, or you didn't sing on a track like Milli Vanilli type thing. Let's stop on that one. Milli Vanilli. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm sure you guys do. Milli Vanilli was this group of these two guys, whatever they did these songs. It turned out that it wasn't them singing. They were caught on stage lip singing, and you know, it was like shame, just shame right across the board, complete and utter shame. Now they have an app where they're encouraging you to do that. There are people that are making careers out of lip singing. TikTok, before it was TikTok, was called Musically, whatever it was called, like that, and it was literally a lip singing app. Back in the day, you told someone they were a poser, them fighting words, man. The fact that we entitled that episode we did with Father Turbo and Father John Valadez, and I included the word poser, and it did come up in the conversation, and we did mean it for what it was. Offended some people from our back in the day. Dumb fighting words. You walk up to a for real punk, and you call them a poser. Those are fighting words. No, they took that seriously. Someone ghost wrote your song, and you're an MC, and it wasn't true. Oh, you're up in arms, man. You're up in arms, man. But now we're good with that. To go back to Justin Marler's comment about we don't even care about the truth. You don't even care about the truth. It's like disturbing. Like, how are you going to walk your way out of that? Like, how are you going to find meaning in your life if you don't even care to look at what's true? Or even have a conversation about it. Like with I don't know. This is not a black-pilled conversation. I hope it's not coming off that way at all. It's quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite. I'm nowhere near black-pilled in any way. I have a lot of hope. Not just hope. Like, I know things are going to be cool. For those of us that are choosing what we seem to be choosing, some of us in this chat, I think I'm preaching to the choir, no pun intended. Yeah. Where did the video go? Did you take it down? Oh yeah, throw it back up, because I do. This is my ritual. I watched this, and I watched the first one from Study of Stuff, and it's not even like I'm walking around. It's probably making you guys dizzy watching me walk around in my house, bumbling through ideas, thoughts, words, just trying to figure it all out. And like, again, the reason why I watched this one and the other one is because that I'm so happy that I decided to start this journey by putting in an insurance policy. It's like I even walked into it knowing there's something's not right here. Something's not right here. I walked into to looking at this from that point of view. I knew something wasn't right. So I'm just happy I had this insurance policy. I'm going to finish watching this, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Let's see. Where were we at? Go ahead, play, brother.
Trying to go into too many details. Now, the whole reason I kept this axiom of
is it pause on our end, or is it pause?
well, when you're veering off into the endless domain of information and philosophy and so on and so forth, if you have the right intention in mind, eventually, even if you gravitate to something that may not be correct, you'll end up.
Is it pause on their end too?
So how does that make sense? Let me give an example here. At one point in my life, I was a nationalist. So any information I was looking at or for was from the perspective of how is this created, how's my culture number one. And so anything I came across that fit that paradigm, I was like, yeah, absorb this stuff. And when I would run into information that disagreed with this, I would either in many cases ignore some of the information, and in other cases I would just disagree violently and not even take into account that some of this stuff is true. So we get stuck in dogmatic thinking if your intention isn't on truth, but your intention is to prove yourself correct, or whatever your philosophical views are correct. So that's why I find that axiom to be very important to me. So it kept me and is keeping me on the right path, I guess, I hope. But at all times I will look into an idea, and if it doesn't fit my paradigm, I question whether or not it could possibly be true. And if it is, I rethink it. If it isn't, then I put it to the side. Not to say that I haven't made many errors along the way, but this is one way I found very useful to kind of keep me looking for something. Anyways, hope this helped.
yeah, I guess I repeated a lot of that, and I'm really happy that I had an insurance policy when I started walking down this path. Just a few comments here I saw. Neil says, "Okay, here's this is an important subject to work through. It's not a black pill movement. It's absolutely, it's quite the opposite. I'm so happy you said that. It's about a beautiful letdown. You. I said it on the show. This man right here, he's got these like poetic sound bites. Like it's really good. Give up on the low things, and we can cling on to something better. Well said, my dear brother. 100%. Our dear friend Jason Mirachuk says, we often exclude listening to certain people because they are saying stuff we don't want to hear, but eyes to see and ears to hear. Yeah. Listening is a key tool in your tool belt of figuring what is true. If there's anything else I missed, I don't know. I'm just quickly looking at people are finding truth. It's beautiful. God does work, even though, yes. Okay. Yes. So we're really quick to slam the internet or to praise the internet. And the medium is a message. Marshall McLuhan. And there's a lot of truth to both of those, but the truth is more in the middle if you know how to use it, right? Like you could use a gun to protect your family, to feed your family, or you could use a gun to do some horrible things. The internet, how do I put this? I had a beautiful conversation today with a dear brother in Texas. If you're still listening, my dear brother, great conversation. Thank you. And I was encouraging this magnificent individual to start putting their opinions out there, podcasting, writing articles. Just come on, get it out there. Like this is good stuff, right? And his concern is the same one as mine, which is the one that I mentioned in the episode of Youth of the Apocalypse, where like sometimes when you're in front of a camera and you have this microphone, like you're like having a bad day. You're not on your prayer rule proper. Your praxis sucks. That's me right now, man. This last 2 weeks, my praxis is garbage. Just garbage, right? And that's when they creep in, right? You got like all of a sudden these stupid thoughts just pop in, right? And you're just like, you're on the mic and your ego, you start getting that thing and you start spitting out this crazy stuff. And if you don't keep that in check, then you're not using this tool correctly or in a good way. But how many of us have come in contact with musicians we like, authors we like, podcasts we like, thinkers we like, fill in the blanks. People in the chats that you're like, yo, I like this person. This person's cool. I need help. I'm going to reach out to so-and-so. I'm having a bad day. That's through the internet. Yeah. Right. And was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, Manny, because we were talking about this. Manny's not on the mic today, so it's just gonna be me and him in the room here. I think it was 2 episodes ago of the Royal Path, where the example was given of the Roman roads and traveling. Was I having that conversation with you? Father Josiah Trenum. Right. You told me about it. Right. So Manny told me about this. Sorry, my apologies. Father Josiah Trenum put out this video, which I still haven't watched. I'm so backlogged on stuff, man. And he made this comment about like, not using the internet would be like early Christians, the apostles, not using Roman roads to travel, to go and spread the gospel. Like that would just be silly. You know what I mean? Could you just imagine? Well, I'm not going to use this Roman road because it's made by the Romans and they're just like this and they're like that. I'm just going to take this. I'm going to veer off here and I'm going to go down this path and it's going to take me 75 years longer to get there because I'm just not going to use, you know what I mean? And comparing the way this technology can be used to have these conversations, ask these questions, push back and forth, introduce people to different artists, musicians, and books and authors and all that stuff, and piece it all together. I know I probably wouldn't have come back as fast as I did. If this is fast, if it's not fast, I'll take that back. I didn't come back fast. It took me a while to get back to here. Apologize on that. But definitely it wouldn't have happened the way it did if I didn't have access to certain content creators. I've said it 100 times. I wouldn't have, listening to Jay wouldn't have made me go, huh? Then I wouldn't have, like we're talking about way back. And then James Perloff and go, 2014, these guys are talking about orthodoxy? What? I was like so confused. Like, these guys are not Greek. They're not Russian. They're not Serbs. Like, what are they? Orthodox? Like us Orthodox? So that was like one of the, that wouldn't have happened. That kind of put a little splinter in my brain. Like that hearing this guy, Jay Dyer, is thinking about turning Orthodox, like Eastern Orthodox, and this guy James Perloff, two like mega giants in that world of like alternative conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it. That put like a little splinter, like right in my brain, and I couldn't pick it out. You know what I mean? Like, it was bugging me. And then confronted with some challenges, like how do I square rights and other stuff. This is pre 2020. Then all of a sudden, let's fast forward a bit. Buck Johnson, Counterflow. This guy's talking about a zine. I'm like, a zine, like punk rock zine. And there's this Death to the World thing, and I get I'm looking at this thing, and I'm just like, what? I know these images. I grew up Orthodox. I've been to like a million monasteries when I was a kid. I saw the like old school Orthodox in Cyprus. I'm like, this looks kind of like what I know, but it also looks like this other thing I know from like, growing up as a punk rock kid in the 90s in Toronto, and seeing all the posters and, all the zines that were going around. And it was zine festivals, like, where you would go and you just like swap zines. If anyone's out there old enough to remember this, it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have your buddies' zines in your show, and you'd go to the thing, and then you walk to the table, and then you're like, I'll trade you these zines for these zines. And we would trade zines. You would go back, and it was like awesome. You'd find out this like weird subculture on the other side of the world is happening. I remember opening this one zine. Sorry, I'm digressing, but I think it's a fun story. At least it is for me. I open it up, and I'm like, Japan has... Did you know in Japan they have these Elvis guys, and they're like into rockabilly, and like, and then I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like, what is going on here? These guys are like that, what? Like, it was weird. Social Distortion was like going to Japan and like playing to like these Japanese guys. Anyways, yeah, I digress. Sorry. So I learned about all this stuff through these zines, and then I'm looking at this thing. It looks like both of those two worlds. And I'm like, huh. And I'm like going, maybe there's something more to this Orthodox thing than I even realized. I don't know. The Buck Johnson again, Justin Marler's on there. I'm like, okay, cool. And then they start playing sleep, and I'm asleep. Like, that band? Like, what? This guy? And I was like, okay, this is weird, And then Father Turbo has Father Turbo on. And that was just like the biggest smash in the face. There we go. This guy, like I've said 100 times, this guy's talking about the Cro-Mags. I'm like, this priest is talking about the Cro-Mags? Like, we're not talking about some generic punk brand. We're not talking about Blink 182 here. We're talking about the Cro-Mags. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. So I start digging. Anyways, I totally digress. I don't even know how I got there. Yeah. The truth. I'm just full of crap. And I often feel crappy about that. And I'm not just saying that, like, I am. And like, I'm not just saying that. And like I haven't, my praxis this 2 weeks has been skata, like pre-fast. So don't come here on this show if you want to, learn things the right way. Don't definitely tune in. At least when I'm talking, when I have like a guest on that knows what they're talking about, listen to that. So I'm not trying to give that impression whatsoever. Just that, like, the truth really, truly is a who, not a what. I'm grateful. So Mella's comment to the internet. I'm grateful for a lot of those online content creators who challenged me and continue to challenge me to ask better questions that push me to realize how little I know. I got my ass humbled. Excuse my language. I got my ass humbled when I came back to the faith. If you go back and watch some of my older videos, or if you knew me, yeah, it's a little bit of a know-it-all, I guess. I still might come off that way. I still am. I'm not saying that I'm not. But it took something. I had to switch something off in my head. I had to be like, how honest do you want to be with yourself, Mano? How dedicated are you actually to this truth thing that you keep jabbering about? Because there's converts. Like, put yourself in my position. That converted 5 minutes ago. That were way younger than me. Talking about something I thought I knew. And I had to be, shut up, Mano. Sit down. So what? The guy's 28 or whatever. At the time I was watching some Kyle the Orthodox. I'm not sure how old he is now, but he was like a baby. David Patrick Harry, what is he, like 33 now? At the time I was watching, he was like 29, 30. He's like a baby. From my standpoint. And like I had to like go, this is a convert. And my ego, like, you're Greek, man, like boom, 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 you know what I'm saying? So like all this stuff, and I was in Cyprus. I saw these monasteries, like they're gonna, and then I was like, oh, shut up, dude, you don't know what you're talking about, me, to myself. And I remember literally sitting myself down. It was tough, and I had to tell myself, shut up, you don't know jack about this stuff, and just learn. Still doing that. Still haven't taken a scholastic approach to it. And I don't mean scholastic in the Latin church sense of the word. I mean, like, digging through books. I have read a bunch, but like now I'm starting to take it deeper, more serious, because I didn't want to consume all these books and all this content like I normally would, like a stacks of books, love going through them and then acting like a know-it-all. I decided it was a little bit better to just have people on, have these conversations, be an idiot, and just kind of like learn that way. Because I know when I turn on the research thing, like I had, when I want to research something, I'll find out some weird stuff about you. Like I just like that, doing that, like, with information or whatever. And I didn't want to make that about, I didn't want to make my faith about what I know, but who I know. Hey, never thought about it that way. I was talking about the who and the what earlier. Concentrate on who you are, not what you are. Hey, I just made that connection. I didn't want to go that way of studying all this because it wasn't about what I know. I don't want to make it about what I know. I want to make it about who I know. Huh. Okay, that was a moment for me. Not sure I know him. Not claiming that. Definitely not claiming that. Wow, I've been jabbering for a while, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, that got me there. Wow, okay. Anyways, I'm just happy that I had that insurance policy. I still continue to. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't ended. I still ask myself, as a return cradle, if I find, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If tomorrow I wake up and I find something that I don't agree with the Orthodox Church, and I'm like, you know what? I got duped again, bud. Man, got duped again, dude. It's not the truth. I'm out. And I'm constantly and consistently leaving that as an option. I have looked, still looking, and I have found nothing at all to point in any direction, any which way that it's incorrect. I haven't found it yet. I don't think I will, to be honest with you. But to be honest, you have to leave a door open. I know I do, right? But I haven't found anything that leads me to think that orthodoxy isn't the path to truth, and the truth is a who and not a what. In fact, the more I look for that, the more I find the opposite. Let me share something with you guys right now. So sorry. I promise I'll end this ramble, the whole ramble, everything in just a minute. Just, I have not been, my practice hasn't been awesome. Like I said. And in the past, in my life, whenever my praxis was pre-Orthodox, if I did the things I would do and stayed disciplined, good things would happen. And when I would stop doing those things, good things wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Like it was less likely. If you want to call it like, I don't like to use those New Age terms. I didn't even like using them when I was in there, in the New Age. I wasn't in the New Age, but in Hermeticism, whatever. Well, like not manifesting and all that stuff. Oh my God. I don't mean it that way. Although there's a lot of stuff, like if you read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, not a good guy, by the way. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, what he's describing in there functionally works 100%. And it's not that you won't find that from a Christian perspective. You absolutely will. The difference is the starting point, the who, not the what, right? That's the difference. The difference is one is self-indulgent and worship of self, because you're creating you better you, I'm better me, all that stuff. It's I. And when you're doing it from understanding God's providence through synergy. Sorry, I'm always suck when I'm not trying to be that guy that says everything in Greek. It's just that's stuck in my head. Synergy. Instead of synchronicity. So synchronicity to me now was a term coined by Carl Jung. Synchronicity is the misunderstanding of God's providence and synergia. At least that's how I'm seeing it now, right? So back to the point, back in the day when I wasn't on my game and I wasn't doing things right, I wasn't experiencing a lot of synchronicity. Let me make a little point that I used to always make, and I'm going to make it again, and it's connected. I can now invert it. Back in the day, I would say the difference between synchronicity and a miracle is time. I used to say back in the day, the difference between synchronicity and a miracle is time, right? Synchronicity is something that you believe in, that when you're doing, you're conjuring this up. I'm using the word conjure on purpose. And you're creating a scenario or situation or whatever, but it might take a day, it might take whatever, right? But if it happens instantly, it's a miracle. We call it a miracle, right? Like let's say like you need $1,000 to do whatever. You don't have that $1,000, and 2 days later, you get a phone call. Someone says, "Hey, we made a mistake on your bank account, whatever. We actually owe you $1,000." Bam, there it is. That's synchronicity. Now a miracle, you would get that $1,000. You're like, oh man, I really need $1,000, and bam, right there in front of you is $1,000. Time is the difference, right? So now the way I see it, I should break this down a little bit more with my church father, of course, and like clergy in general. And I want to have this conversation. So I'm just saying this is me thinking. This is not spiritual advice or anything like that. I'm not looking at it from that point. I do want to have this philosophical conversation with someone, with a priest, see what they think. I look at it, God's providence, the difference is, and a miracle and all that, same thing applies, right? Timing is, would be the same, this and that, but it doesn't come from you. And maybe right now isn't when you should have that. And God will be like, dude, you're not ready, man. Like, you're just not ready, right? Just not now, later, whatever. And then when it's given to you and it's done that way, you understand, you give thanks to who created that situation for you, the same person who created you and all that stuff. That's a big difference. It's not about me. So where I'm going with this is lately my praxis has not been good. Since I've come back from Texas to go look at that project, the Vladika Dimitri of Dallas project, since going to church for the first time in like a bajillion years, meeting Father Turbo, my spiritual father, face to face, a year almost to the date that I interviewed him, that he kicked my butt. Like that in itself is like, that's what it is, right? Like that's crazy. A year to the day, and Father Turbo is the person that pushed me off. Like he went wham, and I went off the deep end, right? All the things I illustrated how I came back, he was the one who went bop, he went bop, and I just fell off. That interview changed my life 100%. That was October 3rd to 2023. That's when I did that interview. I left Texas after having met that same individual that changed my whole life and became my church father and pushed me off the cliff. I met that same human being, that lovely priest, face to face. Did my very first real confession face to face. 1 year to the day. To me, that means something. I don't care. I'm not looking, you know what I mean? That's an example of what I'm talking about, right? And so going back to my point, I'm not on my game now. The last couple of weeks, my praxis sucks. I'm a degenerate in that way. Just on my praxis sucks. You know, I've been talking about it, you know, all this stuff. But yet, good things, as I described earlier, are happening with the project, with Texas, the people I'm interviewing, the conversations I'm having. Like, they shouldn't be happening. Like, it shouldn't be happening. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't even want the responsibility of this Texas thing. It's a lot to carry. And I'm realizing, oh my God, privately, I've been self-sabotaging myself to avoid this massive responsibility, right? And God's like, nah, cuz, you know, like now I will say what a few clergy have said to me. They said to me, the fact that I'm constantly don't want to do this, I'm questioning myself, I'm putting myself in check. This is your cross to bear type thing. You just can't pawn this off on anybody else. You just got to do it, right? Like, I don't want to do it, you know what I mean? All that stuff. So the whole time, I think I was self-sabotaging myself. I'm starting to think I was subconsciously self-sabotaging myself, and he was still delivering. Like, still delivering. Still right now delivering. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense, man. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, guys, I rambled way too much. Thank you guys for listening to my, I guess, no padding of ideas. You know, love you. I'd love your input, your comments on any of this stuff. I don't usually say that, not because I don't. You're always welcome to do that. But in this one in particular, send me a message, throw a comment. I don't even care about like the YouTube algorithm, just whatever. Just send it to me and let me know, like, you know, am I right? Am I wrong? Like, not am I right or am I wrong? Like, just like if there's an issue or this and that or something you might want to add or correct me on or any of that stuff. And I just want to like end things off. I'm going to play the Joe Strummer thing. I'm going to play the David Patrick Harry clip on the way out because I think they're important to me. The right answer to the wrong question remains a wrong answer. Spend more time with the question. Ask good questions. Check yourself. Why are you doing this? Why are you online? Why are you gathering information of the faith? Why are you podcasting? Why are you making music? Why are you writing books? Why are you doing these things, Mano? This is, I'm talking to myself, right? Like, why am I doing this stuff, right? Like, what am I doing this stuff for? BLA on soon? Mr. Moldy. Sorry, I just looked in the chats. I'm going to say hello to a bunch of people. You're not far off, though. BLA raid? We're getting raided now when we're ending? That's awesome. BLA, much love. Thank you, brother. Slow boy, what's going down? Welcome to the ending of the chats. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Daniel, what's up, brother? Oh, Daniel's designed some stuff for us. Oh, you got to see it. This man, I was talking about Orthodox content creators that we're blessed to have in our community. This man right here is one of those one of those people right here. Daniel, this guy is gifted. You know, like threw something together in 2 seconds after a conversation we had, and I was like, yo, this is perfect. Like, this isn't, anyway. Thank you, Daniel, for all that. Again, Slow Boy, welcome. Orthodox Boomer Grandma, always great to see you, sister. How's it going? Girl X, what's up, Stevie? Hope you're doing well, my friend. If there's anyone else I don't see in the chats, welcome. I hope you guys got something. Mr. Westford is here. What up, son? You were mentioned earlier too, Mr. Westford, in a positive manner. Crispy's here. What's up, dude? What's going? Now I'm just saying hi to the chats. I really appreciate you guys like sticking through all the jabbering that happened here, all the conversations we had. Let's see, what is Slow Boy saying? She's dropping a link saying Blaze Lit Analyzer live in 5. Mano, they're asking you to raid him. No problem, of course. But I think you have to change settings before you start that. Let me check with Manny, because Manny knows. Manny, are we good to raid? In 5 minutes, let's raid BLA. Do I have to wait till BLA goes live before we raid? I'm assuming that's the way it is. Please let me know in the chats, Slow Boy. You know what? We're talking about this community. We're talking about all the people that are connecting, and I love watching it. And I love seeing all you guys talking to each other privately and this and that. And I'm like, shout outs to all the content creators and all that. I've said all that, whether they're musicians, podcasters, all that stuff. But one thing that we kind of forget is a lot of the mods and a lot of the people that actually are the backbone on a lot of the streams and podcasts and the content we put out there. Honestly, I don't think they get enough recognition. So like all of you guys that are in there, like everybody in our chats are usually people like that support a lot of other people's work, and I think that's like of the utmost importance. And I think that's something that I think we should acknowledge. Like even this coming here to tell us about BLA having a stream to raid, or vice versa, or Jim Bob's shout outs to SOS and all that stuff like that. A lot of the mods have a lot to do with all of that stuff. And the people that kind of spread our podcasts and our streams. Okay, so let's see what he's saying here. I'm not sure he has to be live or not. Actually, He does have to be live. He says his chats are open. Can you go check on his and just Manny's going to go check over there and see if BLA is live and when he's going live, and we'll hang on till he goes live so we can definitely raid our dear brother BLA. I look forward to having a conversation with that man soon. Dropping the episode with that we just did today. Dear Poor Robbins. I'll let you guys know when. It's going to be very soon. Don't worry, Moldy. It won't be like 3 weeks to a month like it has been in the past. I also have I'm announcing the ones you guys know about and the ones that I've been openly, like, I like to tease people with some of my streams, my guests, obviously. So let's see. What I was going to say is tune in, like the old days. Tune in to SOS when we premiere Dirt Poor Robbins. I have never told you, not once have I lied to you and said to you, your mind's going to get blown with this interview, and it didn't happen. Not once. Every time I've said, you get your mind blown, it happens. You're going to get your mind blown. Tune into that episode. We have a surprise for you as well. For that episode that we're dropping, Dirt Poor Robbins, please go support their work. Go check out their music. Go check out their YouTube, all of that stuff. If you've tuned into SOS, you've heard them. Then we also have Posh. I'm having a conversation with Posh on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I have a conversation with Posh. I'm working out a date with our dear brother, Jason Marichuk. Jason, if you're still in the chats, let me know when you want to do that. We've gone back and forth a couple times. I'm really looking forward to that conversation with Jason. I know it's going to be a roller coaster. Oh, Jason, you're going to take me on a roller coaster. I know it. I love it. And what I'm going to do, brother, I'm going to set you up. I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to let you take us for a ride, man. Oh, no. Don't worry. Jason, don't worry. Take your time. Don't worry about it. 90% of the time, I can always accommodate my guest schedule, almost always. So don't worry about it. Just can't be Sunday night because that's SOS. So I'm going to set up Jason. I'm going to give him I'm going to throw some pylons along the way, and we're just going to watch him go and take us for a ride because that's what Jason does best. And it's certainly what Jason does best. So SOS Radio this Sunday, we're back on track. Obviously, we're going to be doing that. Then I have a couple other guests I am planning on reaching out to. Some of them I have started the conversation, and you definitely know most of the ones I'm going to be bringing on. We have a Texas musician definitely be coming on, and a couple other podcasters and stuff that you know well. Also starting the series about the Romanian atrocities and experiments done. Should be starting that soon. I'm just finishing up on some of the research I wanted to get through, and I'm going to move forward on this one pretty quickly. I'm also going to reach out to the brothers at Synaxis podcast and see if I can get them on. I'm going to be doing like a whole series on this thing because I think it's it's a subject that I'm obsessed with recently, and I think it kind of covers a lot of things from our faith to psychology, to psychological manipulation, social engineering, torture techniques, mass media, all of that stuff. I can't direct on YouTube, so go here. Oh, why can't it? BLA doesn't have permission? Okay, so Manny's saying I might be us because that's the second time that's happened. No, it's on. Guys, if you guys are gonna go jump to BLA, tell them we say what's up. Tell them SOS, loves you, and we say hello. Manny said we cannot properly raid BLA because he has some sort of setting on his side where we can't do that. It won't let us. So Manny dropped the link. Yeah, he has to have his permission on. That's correct, slow boy. But please, tell my dear brother BLA we love him, and I'm going to be reaching out to him soon. You can let him know that. You guys are privy to that information now. Thank you guys for joining me on this conversation. I'm going to say bye. I'm going to play the Joe Strummer video that I started with and the DPH one, and that's it. We out. See you boys and girls tomorrow. Here's Joe Strummer with some wise words for you guys.
Now I like to say, people
is the bottom of the rabbit hole. People begin to question reality through various conspiracy theories, various rabbit holes. It's through these questioning of reality, the search
For a deeper truth, the search to know what reality is in and of itself,
that I think leads people eventually to Christ.
Adios, my brothers and sisters. Have yourselves a wonderful night. Again, say hello to my dear brother, BLA. I'm going to jump in there too and say hello before we go. Have yourselves a wonderful night. See you tomorrow. God bless each and every one of you and your families. Bye-bye.